Justice for Oeatha Archie, Part 2. Part 1 on the same YouTube channel.
He's explaining that he wrote forensic science. He was requesting the DNA evidence, forensic evidence dealing with the sweater, dealing with the projectile, dealing with all of this stuff, because by 2003, Mr. Archie and I were incarcerated down at Holman together. And so we had started noticing patterns with ballistics and other evidence. And so we had all started investigating that in our case to figure out. We had got a hold to an audit report with the Department of Forensic Science showing that these people had lost their what's the certification called?
Certified, yeah.
They had lost their certification. They were no longer peer certified, and so accreditation, that's what it was. They had lost their accreditation, the Department of Forensic Science, certain departments. And so when we found that out, we started going back and investigating the evidence, and we found out these people were withholding evidence, lying about evidence, doing whatever they had to do to prosecute innocent people. And so this is the letter, one of the letters that Mr. Archie received back in response from Taylor Noggle, who was the director at the time. I'm familiar with him. He's the legal custodian of records. This is in December 29, 2003. And so what did he say at the time when you wrote him? He sent you stuff back, and then you wrote him back letting him know, I see it highlighted here, this is not the information I requested. Y'all can see that right there. But this is not the information I requested. So talk about the information that you were requesting, what they did send and what they did not send.
The information that I requested was the forensic of the sweater, the ballistic of the bullet, and the gunpowder residue that they have in my case.
Okay, yeah. Excuse me. You were trying to prove that the sweater evidence showing with a hole. You were trying to prove that there's going to be evidence that the driver of the vehicle shot the gun.
Yeah.
And also, what kind of gun did they say you had?
They said that the shell casing that they found was 380 shell casings on the crime scene.
And they're saying that you're the one that fired the gun that fired those 380 shell casings.
Yeah.
All right. And so they're saying that a 380 would be the murder weapon.
Yeah,
is that correct?
That's what they said.
Okay. So where's the did they find a projectile? They took a projectile out of his arm. Ain't that correct?
Yes. It went through his came out this side and hit his right arm. That's where the bullet lodged.
Where that sweater at again? We got a picture of the sweater showing that. I think it's over there somewhere. I don't think it's in this stack. I think it's right over there somewhere. We showed y'all the sweater earlier. This is the sweater again, and you can see the bullet. So the reason why he was asking for the gunpowder residue test, he wanted to prove that there's a possible powder residue on this shirt somewhere. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get that. And also, we want to test. And the reason why we want to get these ballistics tests is because, like I said, when you go on my YouTube channel, you're going to see I hired a private investigator. And I sent him to the Department of Forensic Science to request the ballistics evidence in my case. I did not tell my private investigator that we were already on the inside picking up on the stuff that they were doing. I just sent him down there to get it. I had already filed my paperwork. I had already received the ballistic memorandum. I already knew that what they had done. He still didn't know, and he still hasn't found out to this day. We were trying to get the projectile in his case also. So when I sent my private investigator down, if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see under the ballistic evidence that my investigator submitted a sworn affidavit that when he got down there, the director told him that no ballistic testing had been done in my case. And he told the investigator that, not knowing that I already had the documents. So they're doing the same thing with him. But this time, have they released the ballistics memorandum test to you yet?
No. All they sent me was, I sent one to them December the 29th, 2003, and I also sent another one January the 6th, 2004. And all they would send me back was the victim blood type. They never sent me the ballistic. They never sent me the ballistic of the bullet. They never sent me the gunpowder residue of the sweater or any other forensic evidence.
I mean, we know what's going on. You know, the thing about it is today what we have that we haven't had is we have someone like Mr. Danny Carr out of the district attorney's in Jefferson County, Birmingham, Alabama, who's willing to take a stand for justice. He's trying to do the right thing. And so it just so happens that Mr. Archie is out of that county. And so if you had a chance to talk to Danny Carr and talk about your case and talk about the drive-by statute, how many people have you saw in prison that were black prosecuted on the drive-by statute? How many have you saw was white?
I would say roughly it's 300 African Americans that's convicted up under this statute, and I believe it's like 1% poor white people that's been convicted up under this statute.
And everybody else black.
And everybody else is black.
And another point that was made by another one of our jailhouse attorneys is that no one has received the capital punishment in the drive-by statute.
No one.
It's not a capital case. It should not be being punished as a capital case. If it's not gang-related and it's not drive-by shooting, there are no aggravating circumstances to elevate it beyond murder. You know, we're advocating for everyone who has been wrongfully charged. At the same time, we're advocating for this man's innocence. But we're showing that this is a statute that has racial components to it. You have another case. When the Joint House resolution came, there's a young man in Huntsville, Alabama. He was a student of Alabama A&M. I think he was into it with a young man from Oakwood College. And he was also charged, when he was initially charged with capital murder. When the Joint House resolution came out, his attorneys, Mr. Bill Starnes, I know Mr. Starnes out of Huntsville, they filed motions. Bruce Gardner was also one of his attorneys. They challenged the capital murder charge against their client based on the House Joint Resolution. And this is the article. So while I'm holding up the article, tell them what happened in Mr. Perry's case.
In this case, Mr. Perry, this student was at a club, and Mr. Perry was shot into his car. And at the time, the House Joint Resolution had came out, and District Attorney Bill Stearns, I believe, District Attorney Bill Stearns told them that the Alabama legislature recently indicated that that the intent of the law was to address drive-by shooting, and because the vehicle was stationary of the fatal shooting when twice occurred, he said the death penalty no longer applies in this case.
And Mr. Perry's charges were immediately reduced, and that's what the article headline says. Perry charge reduced from capital murder because of the Joint House resolution. So there's a denial of equal protection in the law. You have some people being charged the right way, some people being charged the wrong way. There's a denial of equal protection in the fact that there are black people being charged one way, white people being charged another way. So in addition to that, you have a man, and I just read the heading. It says request for all forensic scientific reports and tests that were tested on the hooded black sweatshirt submitted as evidence. That's what this paragraph says right here. You can read it for yourself. That's what Mr. Archie was asking for, and he told him, this is not the information I requested. What they sent him was not the information that was requested. He said, my request concerns the forensic reports and tests that were done on the hooded black sweatshirt the subject was wearing, i.e. the position of entry and exit holes, gunpowder burns, and or residue found around either of these holes. Was particles of this shirt found embedded in the subject's skin at either hole? Were there powder burns and or residue directly on the subject's skin at either of the holes? Etc. They don't want to provide the evidence because we know that they were using this stuff to wrongfully convict people and withholding the evidence. And so we're putting this message back out there again. So like I was saying, Mr. Carr, if you're listening, anyone you're listening, this man has a message. What do you want to say to Mr. Carr? He just filed a motion in the Forrest Johnson case. That's someone you're familiar with. I think you know that young man out of your neighborhood. We We see the work that he's doing with the drug sentences, disproportionate. The war on drugs was a war on the black community. We're seeing that. So what would you say to Mr. Carr about your case?
Well, I've already contacted Mr. Carr, and he's familiar with my case. And I've sent to him and I've explained him and I showed him Miss Henson's indictment.
That's right.
Miss Henson's indictment,
This is Shirley Henson's indictment. Go ahead, finish, go ahead.
I showed him Miss Henson's indictment where they gave her just a regular murder case, which she shot outside her car. And I have my indictment where they charged me with shooting out of my vehicle into a vehicle which is 17.
They charged you with capital murder.
They charged me with capital murder.
And they charged her with reckless murder?
Yeah,
reckless murder. Same facts, same crime, different color, different time. Same facts, same crime, different color, different time. And that's what happened with Mr. Archie, and that's what happened with a lot of black men, and a lot of them are out of Jefferson County, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So this is something that has to be addressed. We see that we are in the midst of phenomenal, just unbelievable things going on with the George Floyd case. We're trying to get not only the statues, the Confederate statues and monuments of white supremacy down, we're trying to challenge the laws of Confederacy and white supremacy. We're trying to tear down the institutions, Confederate institutions and institutions of racism. There was a time when the offices and the office holders around the state were using their positions to carry out white supremacy. And black men disproportionately are impacted, and this is one of the particular laws. We know that black people are not the only people in gangs in this country, but we're the only ones that are being charged and prosecuted with gang laws. And even when we're not in a gang, and even when our crimes are not gang related, the fact that we are black, then we are being labeled as gang members, and then we're being charged under gang laws, and we're being wrongfully convicted, and then we're being bamboozled in the court. They're withholding evidence, they're manufacturing evidence. They say this man killed this man with a 380. They had these shell cases. They don't have any proof of that. And it's ironic that they said that I killed a man with a 9mm, a 357 and a 9mm, and of course, and the 9mm is the one that he said that I had killed Mr. Horton. So, 2 guns. Of course, later on, we find out that there actually was 380. Evidence that showed that this man had been killed with the 380. And so now we have them with Mr. Archie. They're saying that he killed a man with a 380. He's saying he doesn't own a 380. He's never owned the gun. He said there's proof out there to establish his innocence, and they're withholding it from him the same way they're withholding it from me, and no telling who else that they're withholding from. And it's the same people, and it's around the same time. We got on them around the same time. I got my evidence in July of 2002. We were all doing it together, and here it is in 2003. He started getting his responses back, and on and on and on and on. And we didn't stop then, and we're not going to stop now until these facts are fully developed, and we can show that the Department of Forensic Science was unaccredited, that they were complicit with prosecutors around the state of wrongfully convicting people. We're seeing that out of the Doug Valesa case and all of the stuff that they had going on down there. We know who these people are. We know what they're capable of. But we have capabilities too, and so that's what we're doing. We're trying to rise up and meet the challenge. So, Mr. Carr, if you're listening, anyone else listening, you're advocating out there, these are the issues that we're trying to adjudicate with innocent people perishing in the Alabama Department of Corrections. So the feature is Mr. Archie, and I'm going to let him have the final say on his case and his facts and make his plea for justice and innocence to the people that are listening.
I want to say this act came out in 1992. It's 28 years ago. And I've served 26 of those 28 years under this drive-by shooting statute. And like I said, Miss Henson, you know, she actually committed her murder. She shot this woman in the face out of her car. And they charged me with a murder with no evidence that I shot this dude. They have no ballistic of the bullets. They have bullet fragment, and they never present the ballistic of the bullet. And during my trial, you know, my lawyer nor the DA, Ms. Pedro, they never did investigation of this case. Because during the trial, when the coroner, Mr. Bruce Alexander, got on the stand and told them that this man was shot from the left side, you know, it caught everybody by surprise. It caught everybody, so they immediately stopped my trial, took me to the back, and offered me 20 years. You know, and I told them I wasn't gonna take 20 years because y'all, you know, you see this man was shot from the left side, so they went and proceeded on with the trial, and like that never happened. They never went back to it or never asked about nothing. And then, as far as the crime scene concerned, you know, this case happened early in the daytime. Okay, you're supposed to secure the crime scene. This, mind you, this is a low poverty neighborhood where crime and in actuality another incident happened at this same intersection, and they didn't secure the crime scene until midnight. And so that's, you know, they had no chain of custody of the evidence or whatever. How you just gonna say that? You know what I'm saying? These actual shared cases are mine. You know, this crime happened in the daytime. Y'all didn't secure the crime scene to midnight.
Right. And they allowed the evidence to become contaminated. And both everything they found, it belonged to Mr. Archie.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
and like, you know, I'm a victim of race-based justice. You know, prosecutors seek conviction with little or no concern of justice. You know, and they rarely admit to their ethical conducts. You know, Alabama, they refuse to right their wrong. They refuse to right their wrong. And, you know, it's like, I'm not only just speaking for myself. I'm speaking for 300 more African American young men and poor white men that's under this situation. You know, I just want my voice to be heard. You know, Miss Henson case went nationwide. You know, the whole world knows about that case. I want my case to be heard. I want the whole world to know about that I'm innocent of this case. I did 26 years for something I didn't do. You know, it just, you know, like I said, I never stopped. And then, you know, it's with Free Alabama Movement, you know, we got a platform where our voice can be heard. You know, I reached out to innocent projects here, innocent project there, you know, and I always get to respond that they, you know what I'm saying, the caseload is this, they got caseload is this, and some will tell me I got a good case, you know, but ain't nobody hearing my voice. Don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if your case is not in the public eye, you know what I'm saying, we not heard inside the prison system. We not heard, you know, through Free Alabama Movement, you know, we can, you know, we got a chance for our voice to be heard, you know. And then, like I said, if you want to read my story, you know, you can go on Justice for Oeatha Archie at Facebook.com, and you can read my whole story. You know, I got my exhibits up there. I got everything up there.
That's what we do. We lifting the voices up. I mean, you know, I just read the new foreword to Michelle Alexander's new 10th anniversary edition of the new Jim Crow, and I was reading some of the stuff in it, and I was jumping back and forth between the manuscript for my book, and I'm like, we're saying a lot of the same things, and one of the things that I'm saying and she's saying and others are saying is that our voices on the inside are not being heard. People are still trying to mute us. And so one of the things about Free Alabama Movement that distinguishes us is that's a key part of our platform and our movement is that we're going to take the sacrifices and do whatever we have to do to lift voices up from the inside, because people are trying to mute our voice. They're intervening. They're trying to do it for money. They're trying to do it for attention. We can't make movies. You know, we can't mingle and rub shoulders with the big donors and the big ballers, because they're reaching out to organizations that's in between us and them, but those organizations are putting up stone walls and barriers around us, and they're consolidating and taking that money, but they're not assisting, you know. And so we just kicking their ass out the way, you know, we'll kick them out the way and we'll kick these doors down and we'll break through these barriers and we'll get our voices out there by any means necessary. So that's the struggle, that's the fight. This is Mr. Oeatha Archie. I'm Ben Hannibal Rasan, the founder and spokesperson of Plea. Out there, we're getting the message out. We're bringing the voice. We're bringing these stories out. We brought out the Willie Simmons fire plug story. It's gone around the world. You know, local media picked up on the story. They contacted us, and we put them in contact with people down at home in prison so they can talk to Willie Simmons. And they amplified the voice. They amplified the story. And that's the same thing we're gonna do with Mr. Archie and anybody else that's not afraid to get in front of the camera, because the lens of a camera is a very powerful tool when you use it as an instrument for change. And that's what we're trying to get guys on the inside to understand. If you have access to a phone, don't be playing video games with it. Don't be using it to further carry out criminal activity. Don't be using it to waste time in frivolous pursuits. Use it to fight for justice, because there are people out there, and we'll do what we have to do to get it out there. This is Ben Hannibal. Appreciate you for joining.
Share widely. We need to get the message out. We fighting for justice in Alabama. This is Free Alabama Movement.